What have been some of the biggest challenges you face, and what did you learn from those challenges?
When I did my PhD, I did it with New Zealand rowing team, and I worked with a very good sports psychologist, and he said, I've got this tool. It's a psychometric tool, and I want you to run that alongside all of your measures. So we were doing hormone measures, protein damage markers, and we also had a suite of cytokines. When we collected the first set of data, it didn't work out as he had expected, and he was pretty down about it. This is what should have happened, and the opposites occurred. What we found is that a lot of our champions, they were surviving things that perhaps they shouldn't have survived, like all the hormones were going the wrong way, but then they'd break a world record or they'd win a gold medal at the Olympics or things like that. Whereas the athletes that were presenting themselves with normal profiles, they weren't achieving. As part of my thesis, I just talked about, maybe in a high-performance sport, we're taking people on who are abnormal. In other words, they're on the far end of the bell curve. We get people to come in gifted. Yeah. And then through the training and things like we do, we make them even more abnormal.
What about highlights that you sort of look back on fondly that you're most proud of?
I've just been so lucky. I really have. I've just been right place at the right time. I just overwhelmed. I mean, that's why I keep doing it. In 2021, the Blues had won the Trans-Tasman, the first super title they'd won for a long, long time. And then I went to the Olympics and, we won 4 medals. Australia got, finished second overall in terms of rowing nations. And then I worked remotely with the Waikato NPC team and they won for the first time.
What are some things that you sort of hold strongly to yourself where you think we're going in the wrong direction here? It's starting to get it, especially pre-season, I guess.
When I first went into union, I felt that we were front-loading the season. So we did a hell of a lot of work in the pre-season. And then we basically deconditioned during the season. And it just showed a downward trend. So when I ended up in rugby, I felt that we could perhaps pull the pre-season down, just get enough credits, but making sure that we're loading, unloading, loading, unloading, loading, unload. And it's pretty flat. We're just creeping up. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we're in good nick for the finals. So I think it was 2013 when we won the Super Rugby title, we did our biggest training week the week before the semi-final. Rather than programming from left to right, we've got to program from right to left. We've got to go, where do we want to be in the final? I want to be doing this amount of distance, this amount of high metabolic load, this amount of intensive acceleration, this amount of distance above 85% or 93% or whatever. That's where I want us to be. And then you build the program back for that and look for the opportunities to load, knowing that.
How do you measure the anaerobic credits? What exactly is that from a GPS point of view?
When I was working in Italy, I know they were doing a lot of work about individualizing their metabolic measures. So they knew how much time that they were spending in the anaerobic zone or the VO2 max zone. And we know that there's only a certain amount of time that you can spend in those zones. But the teams that I've worked with, the coaches don't want to reward someone who's at 100% but is out the back of the field or is not in the defensive line. They want to measure like for like. It's the old rowing prognostic model. They want to measure everyone against the same standards. So I use a lot of my zones, apart from 85%, 93% of distance at 80 throw and 93% max velocity. Most of the metrics I use are absolutes. So high metabolic load is 25.5 watts per kilogram. I have an intensive acceleration metric that's 50 watts per kilogram, which is equivalent to 3 meters per second from a standing start, or roughly 10.6 meters per second. Those are my key metrics. And then I've got my quality metrics alongside there. So what I'm trying to make sure is that we achieve a particular level of those metrics and a particular number of minutes of quality in our bigger weeks. And then that gets less in our lesser weeks.
What are some teething sort of common mistakes when strength and conditioning coaches and coaches are coming together? I'm
not going to say this is easy. It's difficult. So I guess the fundamental thing is that with the rowing program, specificity principle is really important. When I went into the Chiefs, they wanted to implement a whole different way of training, and all 4 coaches were 100% into this. So they basically wanted to start from pre-season to the end of the season. Every conditioning drill we did had to have a tactical decision-making goal. Obviously, we're looking at contact in some of them as well too, a learning development and a conditioning element. The biggest challenge is this. Only way this works is if the coaches buy into it and then have the skills to collaborate around achieving all of our goals in each element of training. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. Most changes take 3 years.